Good morning, students and viewers. My name is Praveen. In this session, we are going to talk about impact of climate change on global crop production. So, climate. ఈ మధ్యకాలంలో అందరూ చెప్పేది ఎండలు బాగా ఎక్కువ పెరిగిపోతున్నాయని, లేదంటే ఊర్లోకి వెళ్తామంటే వర్షాలు టైం పడాల్సిన కాస్త టైం పడట్లేదని. సో there are untimely rains. There is a talk of high temperatures, unbearable temperatures in the summer. Everyone keep on talking about these things. What are these? This is nothing but part of climate. They say that earlier it was not like this. So what is this sudden change? Should we call this as a climate change? Some scientists think so. So before we enter into this topic, let us define climate. On daily basis, we observe weather, right? We observe this weather parameters such as temperature, rainfall, humidity, sunshine, wind, all these for a longer period of time, such as 30 years. So climate refers to average weather conditions tracked for over 30 years, enclosing parameters such as temperature, rainfall, sunshine, humidity, and wind patterns. That defines climate for a particular area. In geography, we tell that tropical areas have tropical climate, then temperate latitudes have different climate, then polar, then coastal areas have different climates, right? So the climate is region specific and it is varies spatially and temporally also. Initially we used to have ice age. Now we are in interglacial climate period where the glaciers are retreating. So this is a natural climate change. And what we are talking here, climate change, it's anthropogenic. That it is human induced. So how it is happening? This climate change that we are referring here, it is anthropogenic, human induced. How? After industrial revolution, whatever the industrial activity we are doing, it is generating global warming gases, especially CO2. The level of CO2 is increasing in the atmosphere, thereby causing global warming and climate change as well. So climate change is the change or shift in the climatic conditions in a particular area, which is human induced. What are the general impacts of this climate change? One is global warming, extreme weather events with high intensity, and natural hazards, natural disasters, unforeseen natural disasters like landslides, wildfires in the forest. You might have seen in the news that US is having this many acres loss because of the wildfires, and it was a frequent phenomenon nowadays. And landslides in our Himalayan region, food security. These are some of the impacts of general impacts of climate change. Okay, what we are interested now is how this climate change is impacting global crop production and thereby food security. That is the core topic that we are going to discuss. So as I said, climate, we have temperature, we have rainfall, we have humidity, sunshine, and winds. Let us see how these factors, they are very much understandable on our own, but let us see how they individually contribute for crop. So temperature decides or have significant impact on flowering, germination, and fruiting, and crop length cycle as well. Then rainfall, every crop needs water, so it can create water distress or water surplus. Crop needs rainfall or water for survival. In India, we have 2/3 of our entire farming land under rain-fed irrigation. So directly, indirectly, we are very much dependent on the rainfall. And humidity decides the level of pest attacks. There is high humidity, there is a high chance of pest attacks. And sunshine decides the photosynthesis or photorespiration. If there are too high speed winds, there is a loss of crop grains, like lodging, they fell off from the crop. So these climate parameters have impact, or they are the deciding factors for the crop production. So we have staple crops, we have commercial crops. We are going to discuss about the crops related to food security. So now we will study what is the impact of climate change on crop production. Let us study region wise first. In tropical regions, because of heat stress, it causes water stress and salination, we may be losing crop yields. In temperate regions, in short term, they may gain crop yields because of availability of more sunshine and more land because of melting of permafrost or glaciers. They will have more land available. So there will be increase in crop production in temperate regions for short term, but at the same time they will have more heat stress for that reason as well. So that will also create a long term loss only. Now we will understand what are different studies saying about climate change impact on crop production. In 2024, France, registered 24% of losses in crop production in their winter crops, such as wheat, maize, 24% loss. And NASA also says that by the end of 21st century, because of the climate change, the crop production or crop yield will reduce by 21% for maize crop. In India, the study says that for rice crop in unirrigated, the crop production could be less for like 2040 and 2080. Two levels they have taken in the study. By 2040, we may observe 20% losses. By 2080, it will be around 40%. In irrigated area, it is only 3%. And by 2080, we may observe 5%. So you understand here, in in a irrigated land, the losses due to climate change can be adjusted. Similarly, in wheat, the losses are estimated at 20% and 40%. Maize, the losses are estimated at 18% and 23%. So these are the studies conducted by different organizations. So expected losses due to climate change. The change in the parameters like temperature, rising temperatures, or sea levels, they have impact on crop production, because it will not only reduce the soil fertility, but it will also reduce the favorable conditions for crop production. If we go further deep, crops can be, or plants can be divided into C3 crops and C4 crops and C4 crops. What are these? We know that in photosynthesis, what happens? CO2, H2O gives C6H12O6, right? This is the starch and generates oxygen. So this is the general photosynthesis process. This is the compound that gives energy. This is the compound that is being stored as a produce in the crop. So to produce this, there is a cycle called Calvin cycle in each plant. So in this Calvin cycle, what happens? During this process of photosynthesis, it fixes carbon, this carbon in a compound in terms of C3. C3 means there is a 3-carbon formula. That is simply, I am stating that there is a 3-carbon compound. So in C3 crops, what happens? During the carbon fixation, the initial process is forming a 3-carbon molecule called 3-phosphoglycerate. Then it converts into a starch. So this is crucial. What are these C3 crops? Like rice, wheat, these are all called C3 crops. So they are sensitive to temperature. What happens in C3 crops? When the temperature is very high, instead of fixing this carbon into 3-phosphoglycerate molecule, they'll fix oxygen. This is called photorespiration. So instead of photosynthesis in C3 crops, when there is a high temperature, there will be photorespiration and causing to loss of this carbon fixation. So this results in reduction in the yields of crops. Whereas in C4 crops such as maize, sorghum, sugarcane, due to high temperature, it forms a 4-carbon molecule called oxaloacetate in fixing the carbon. So it is somewhat resistant to the temperature changes. But the C3 crops, most of the global population dependent on these rice, wheat, staple crops. But they are somewhat sensitive to the temperature changes. So the rise in temperature impacts the ability of the plants to convert or fix the carbon in the plant, and ultimately leading to loss of yields. So another one of the scientific thing that you should know is there is an enzyme called rubisco, which plays a crucial role in fixing the carbon in these crops. So rubisco decides whether a C3 molecule should form or C4 molecule should form in a plant. So climate change in this way can impact the crop production as well. So this is about climate change impact on crop production, and we will now understand what are the different initiatives taken by India and at global level to combat this climate change. So now we will study initiatives taken by India. In 2008, India formed a action plan called National Action Plan on Climate Change. There are 8 sub-programs under it, and one of the program is National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. So this is what. So through this mission, India wants to induce the sustainable practices of farming in the Indian agriculture system. So this is one of the policy initiative taken by India to induce sustainable techniques in Indian farming system. And also it has taken some technological and research initiatives as well, such as M Kisan, real-time basis weather changes will be given as a SMS will be forwarded to Kisans, farmers, real-time basis weather updates. Because of these untimely rains or floods, they can take an action if they have sufficient information. This is one of the initiatives taken by India. And there is another initiative called National Innovation. There is another initiative called National Innovation in Climate Resilient Agriculture by ICAR, Indian Council for Agriculture Research. It studies and invents climate resilient seeds. Climate resilient seeds. Another initiative taken by India is Agromet Advisory Services. It's a platform that provides weather-based crop practices related to weather. It is developed by Indian Meteorological Department and ICAR. There are some financial initiatives also taken by India, like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana to insure the losses, then Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana to promote organic farming, and there is another program called Rain-Fed Area Development Program. It wants to improve the water usage efficiency in these rain-fed areas, and it wants to create irrigation infrastructure in these rain-fed areas through this program. It's a financial initiative taken by Center. So these are the different programs taken by India to address the challenges or problems created by climate change. So India wants to build its agriculture system in a sustainable manner. It can achieve SDG 2, zero hunger. So we will discuss other initiatives taken by at global level. At global level, USA and UAE together formed one mission called Agriculture Innovation Mission. It is led by USA and UAE, and some other 56 countries also part of this program. They invest in technologies to create mechanisms for smart and sustainable agriculture. And second initiative is by FAO, Global Forum on Food Security and Nutrition. It's a research initiative by Food and Agriculture Organization. And also third initiative is nothing but the Conference of Parties under UNFCCC, Climate Change Framework under United Nations. So recently a 29th Conference of Parties happened at Baku. Through this UNFCCC, the world wants to infuse funds or provide funds to the least developing countries or developing countries to create infrastructure for sustainable agriculture. So some of the countries are losing their land because of the sea level increase. So there is a called Green Climate Fund. Through this UNFCCC framework wants to transfer funds to the least and developing countries so that they will have sustainable mechanisms for their agriculture systems to combat the problems posed by climate change. These are some of the initiatives at global forum level. In this topic, what you should remember is, or the UPSC may ask is, how different parameters can impact and what are C3 and C4 crops and what are the different initiatives taken by India or at global level. These are the things that you should keep in mind. Thank you for everything.